using the 5G. It's your
Okay, I'll
phone
just stay
plan.
on.
It's your
I'll,
data plan.
okay, I'll stay on 5G. I'll bill car for the data.
I don't know what happened there, freaks. We lost internet at the Commons. I was just making fun of everybody not showing up for work at the Commons because it's snowing here in Austin. It looks like the IT guy is working from home today too. Can't keep the Wi-Fi up. Hopefully, it's,
Me,
it's the only time we have that problem today.
meanwhile, I'm finally like getting the finishing touches on my new home studio, getting the finishing touches on the actual studio. And the first thing I do after that is, of course, go on a family vacation. So I'm back on a mobile setup. And as soon as the internet cut, I thought for sure it was me. So I started troubleshooting on my side, couldn't connect back, but it was Marty and Carr the whole time.
Hey, it was our end. We're here at the Commons. Anybody at the Commons listening right now? We got to get the Wi-Fi down. We've got an Ethernet cord set up too. Apparently, it's not working though. We are
It might
working.
not be it might not be the Commons internet. I mean, you guys are getting like when ice hits the south, like all infrastructure falls apart. I
Yeah,
feel like.
yeah. It's crazy how people freak out down here. It's a little bit of snow. I thought Texas was filled with a bunch of hard-nosed cowboys. Everybody becomes a pansy when a little bit of snow hits the ground, a little bit of ice. Oh my God, I have to get the ice off my car. Suck it up, people.
I guess Twitter blocked us. We don't have a new tweet out.
No new
Whatever.
tweet?
No new tweet.
I set it up. It should have gone out. Let me see.
That's why I was looking at my phone. I wasn't being. I was gonna click retweet. Can we blame the Bitcoin miners for your lack of internet?
It didn't go out. Well, you didn't have that on the list. Car and I had to throw it on the list after. We will put the link in the show notes. We'll
What
start.
all the Texas miners patting themselves on the back for shutting down their ASICs?
Yeah, that's funny. Parker and I were just talking about that.
Like, don't they get paid to shut them down? Like, isn't that part of the
Yes.
plan?
Yes, exactly. So this is, I mean,
Really noble, super noble.
well, it's like, exactly. That's what I was like. Parker's like, we're combating narratives here. Like, we should be noble. Like, yeah, agree. It is. So we'll start with that. Before we even get to Clark's dashboard, we'll just start with the topic of the day. It's very cold here in Texas. Obviously, it's raining, or excuse me, snowing, and now it's raining, but it's like icy rain. And obviously, we know that last year the Texas grid was stressed exorbitantly because of a 100-year storm, and you actually had grid failure. People lost power all throughout the state. Many people died as well, unfortunately, and it became a big meme over the last year. Like, all right, we need to stabilize grids not only in Texas but all over. Obviously, you have rolling brownouts and blackouts in California. New York City has electricity problems now after they shut down the Indian Point nuclear power plant, and Bitcoin miners fitting into this conversation is becoming more and more of a meme and a narrative that the Bitcoin world is pushing. And it's a good narrative too, and it does make sense. And basically what Bitcoin miners are able to do is via capitalism and economic incentives, they can go to grid operators and utilities companies, energy companies, and say, hey, if you build out this capacity, a lot of the problems that people who want to expand grid capacity have is like, all right, we're not always going to have consumers. You have X amount of capacity, but peak demand is only buying electricity up to that capacity for very few days of the year, one of which is today. So what Bitcoin miners can do is like, all right, like build out that capacity. You can build out your grid capacity. You can extend it so you have an abundance of electricity on your grid that far surpasses what will ever be your peak demand when it's extremely cold or extremely hot out in the middle of winter or the middle of summer. And in between those peak demand periods, we will purchase that electricity that is overabundant for the necessary amount of demand in non-peak times. And we'll give you revenue for that. So you're not just producing it and not making any money for it and having a loss on your balance sheet. And so Bitcoin does incentivize this overproduction of capacity and abundance of capacity on grids. And Bitcoin is uniquely suited to do this due to the fact that you can interrupt Bitcoin miners, and you won't affect the Bitcoin network materially as a result. You couldn't do it with like AWS or a chip foundry or something like that, because if you have to shut down AWS servers or a chip foundry, you're losing millions, potentially hundreds of millions of dollars worth of economic activity due to that.
And conversely, like if you plug in miners and turn them on at any time, you can instantly be generating revenue. You don't have to like have purchase orders or something set up in that way.
Yeah, you don't have to
like on demand.
You don't have to re-oil a supply chain or anything like that. And so and so Bitcoin miners are uniquely suited to do this. And in the state of Texas specifically, a bunch of large miners, Riots, Rhodium, and others have engaged in what is known as a demand response program within ERCOT, which is the entity that controls the electricity markets in the state of Texas. So they basically have created this demand response program within ERCOT where if the demand for electricity from the grid hits a certain point, miners will and a certain price per kilowatt hour, miners will shut down and stop using and converting energy to electricity for their services, and then they'll divert that electricity to the grid so the residents are able to heat their homes or cool their homes when it's very cold or very hot out. But Bitcoin miners get paid for that. That's part of the demand response program. Is okay.
So you're part of the contract.
Yes, you enter this contract. You say, all right, if we have to shut down, we will shut down, but we're also selling the electricity we otherwise would have used to mine Bitcoin. We're going to sell that to market. And last year, Bitcoin miners engaged in that program, made out like bandits, and they're probably doing pretty well today as well. So there's been a huge media blitz in Bloomberg and others, and I don't blame any of the miners for doing this. Obviously, we're being much maligned by politicians and the mainstream media for being a drag.
It's a good PR campaign.
It is, but we should be upfront. Like you said, acting holier than thou or like noble. It's like it is noble in the sense that yes, the economic incentives and the capitalist-driven companies that are creating the conditions where you're never not going to have electricity as a residential consumer, because Bitcoin miners have incentivized the build out of excess capacity. But it's not like they're just giving the electricity away and like saving cold people.
It's a beneficial business arrangement. It's not charity.
Yes, that's way more apt than the long-winded explanation I just gave. But it is a beautiful thing, and that's
it is beautiful. I 100% agree on that. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, but it is also creating a lot of confusion too. Like, you had a bunch of people who responded to my newsletter, which Carr just had up on the screen yesterday. Like, yes, this incentivizes the production of renewable energy. It's like, no, that's exactly like right now. It's freezing rain. There's literally ice coming out of the sky. So I imagine wind turbines across the state are having problems spinning or picking up wind even. Doesn't seem that windy out. And obviously...
But solar's definitely not producing.
Yeah, solar's not producing. And so what the grid has, and Steve Barber had a good thread about this last night too. There's a very nuanced discussion. The grid problem that exists right now is that it's dependent on too much intermittent, unreliable electricity generation sources, mainly wind and solar. So when we talk about Bitcoin miners incentivizing the build out of more grid capacity, what I hope to see as an individual is that grid capacity is backed up by natural gas, nuclear, even coal to an extent, because that's more reliable base load where when it's cold out, it's freezing rain, the sun's not shining, wind turbines aren't turning, you're going to have electricity. You build out as much capacity as you want, wind and solar, but when you have days like this, they're not going to produce. It doesn't matter if you build out 100 gigawatts of capacity of wind and solar, and Bitcoin miners are consuming that. Like, Bitcoin miners would probably have to shut off anyway, because if they were utilizing those resources only because they wouldn't have any electricity in the first place. So it's a nuanced discussion. Bitcoin certainly does help. It creates the network has created the economic incentives to build out this excess capacity. But again, as with many things that are discussed on this show, there's a lot of nuance to all of it, but it is helping. The grid hasn't failed yet today, and Bitcoin miners have shut down, but there's been a major media blitz, which is good. It is a good thing, but it's Parker. Sorry if you're listening to this. I'm just like airing out our personal conversation, but that's like what we were going like back and forth. He's like, I think we should just be upfront. Like, hey, it's just pure economic incentives driving this. We're not doing any charity work.
Yeah. Yeah, and it felt like all the miners all came together on it. They all released their own press releases and tweets and stuff. And
yeah,
I don't know where this fits in, but like as far as like renewable energy on cold days, like fireplaces for the win.
I know I want a fireplace so bad.
And we count that as renewable, right? Because like trees grow.
No, that's like the least renewable.
Why? You can plant new trees and then you cut them down and you burn them.
In terms of energy density and the amount of carbon created, Matthew, it's terrible.
Well, fireplaces are good. I love
fire.
I'm pro fireplaces. I'm Robert. A whole recap.
I'm a fireplace maximalist myself. Yeah, my brother texted me yesterday. He's like, "Get wood, put it under the tarp." I'm like, "What? So I can put it in the outside fire pit?" I'm like, "Gonna stand outside by the fire." It's like snowing out. I wish we had one inside. Don't bring the
fire pit inside.
No, do not do that.
That's how you die.
Yes, that is how you either burn your house down or get carbon monoxide poisoning. While we're on the bend, like that's what I thought. It's fascinating what's going on in the world right now. You have this happening in Texas. I believe Bitfarms in Canada is doing the same thing. I had somebody respond to the newsletter last night saying that there's Bitcoin mining operations in Pennsylvania doing a similar demand response thing. So this is happening not only here in Texas, but around the U.S. and even up north in Canada. So while that's going on, Bitcoin's helping cold people. It's helping incentivize the secure delivery of electricity.
Did you say cold people?
Yes, it's helping cold people.
The group of people known as cold people.
There's many of us. Different skin color, sex, gender, religion.
All cold. Though.
Ages, all cold. That's happening. And then across the world in Lebanon, it's pretty fucked up what's going on. I don't even think you had this on the list, but it's a pretty big story. Lebanon has decided, so we've been talking about Lebanon for years now because in 2019, the central bank, in conjunction with the government, unilaterally just froze bank accounts. They've been a lot of them have been frozen ever since. And so going on 3 years now. I believe that happened like the summer of 2019. And the Lebanese government and central bank basically came out and said they have the plan to tackle the financial crisis, which the World Bank is calling one of the worst depressions in world history. And they're just going to do a overt 93% devaluation of the Lebanese pound, which will wipe out, I believe, $69 billion worth of wealth. And so those frozen bank accounts that have, a lot of them have U.S. dollars in them, are just going to be confiscated and converted into pounds. And this is all in an effort to appease the IMF so they can get a bridge loan to try to get their footing. And so this is just a very strong case study that proves like why Bitcoin is important. You can never have a government or central bank just unilaterally lock you out of your account if you're.
And stable coins don't fix this either. Like you need an actually censorship resistant immutable chain.
Yeah, well
they do in the short term.
Yes,
they can help mitigate it in the short term. But long term, you just end up in the same exact situation where you have central point of failure that can get frozen.
Well, and so this was added to the discussion yesterday. Lebanon is doing this. Turkey's doing something similar, but apparently there's a lot of Turks that have leveraged Tether to skirt this because what they'll do, a lot of in Lebanon and Turkey, like I just mentioned, a lot of the money in their bank accounts will be U.S. dollars. They can have their local currencies, lira, Lebanese pounds, or they can have dollars as well. And what they attack is the dollar because it's obviously the stronger currency. And so there's been stories coming out of Turkey specifically that a lot of Turks have turned to Tether and are storing their dollars in Tether instead of bank accounts to avoid
100%
confiscation like this.
But the reason I bring up stablecoins is because in this particular situation, it seems kind of analogous to what we might see going forward, which is this idea that their national currency is failing, right? So people go to seek refuge in a U.S. denominated dollar asset, right? A U.S. dollar,
Pegged
go to
currency.
get U.S. dollars, but held with a regulated party, right? A regulated centralized party. In this case, it was a local Lebanese banks, right? But it could be Circle or it could be
Yes. Yeah, it was
like it
hilarious.
serves the same purpose as a stablecoin in a lot of ways.
Did you see Eric Voorhees grandstanding about USDC and Thorchain, trying to say it was like
Well, like, and then the next, yeah, and then the next day the wormhole hack happened or whatever, right?
yeah.
I don't know. I've been trying to use Twitter less. I've been like taking a little bit of a break.
Hey, how's it been?
I haven't caught this stuff. It was like it's a little bit of a Twitter force break because my tweets still show as unavailable.
You're shadow banned, dude.
I emailed Twitter. They were like, "No, you're not. We would never shadow ban users without telling them or something." I was like, "Okay." I mean, it's pretty
Obvious. yeah.
Like the only thing more frustrating than censorship is when the censor tells you like we're not doing it. They just like fucking lie straight to your face. Like at least own it.
Yeah. Prague, come on, man. Come on, dude. We all know he's being shadow banned. And they even like shut down that MI shadow ban site.
There's other ones, but yeah, the original one's down. It says I'm not shadow banned on that site for what it's worth. There's varying definitions of what shadow banning is.
Yeah. That's interesting because you can see your first tweet, but then if you click on like a response, it says
Then
tweet.
it says unavailable.
Yeah, tweet unavailable.
And I think they must be like de-ranking me and shit in like the algorithm as a result. I don't know. It's all bullshit. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I've been taking a little bit of break and not paying attention. I did see a freak tagged us. Did we kill Puxatawny Phil or was that a different groundhog? Like, did you see that?
Yeah, I believe Puxatawny was the original. He's been dead for decades. They had another one. I think his name was like Milton or something. He died
And
2 days ago.
he,
He died.
yeah, like right after we ripped on him, we jinxed it.
He died on the 31st, and then they scrambled. They apparently got a new one, and he saw a shadow, so it's 6 more. Or he didn't see a shadow. I forget how it works. Then somebody was making fun of me for calling it Groundhog's Day, saying like I was saying it's like about groundhogs plural. It's groundhogs possessive, okay, but it is Groundhog Day.
He couldn't
Died fighting for 200K.
Yeah, he couldn't deal with the shame of us not hitting 200K.
Yeah. God bless him.
Damn, crazy world.
I hope you're doing okay up there, buddy. Yeah, I mean, he dies. We get a winter storm down here in Austin. No 200K. It's dark times right now. Dark times. Speaking of dark times, while I have it up, let's turn to Clark's dashboard before we forget. The price of Bitcoin, according to Clark's dashboard, is 36,710 cuck-bucks. One cuck-buck's going to get you 207,024 sats. Bitcoin market cap is currently $695.6 billion. If you like that, we are currently 46.8% away from the previous all-time high of $69,010. We're getting pretty close to the next retarget, which is 49 blocks away. That'll be, is it the 3rd today? Yeah, it'll be later today. And it's looking to be relatively flat at a negative 0.2%. Blocks are coming in at 10 minutes and 1 second on average, so we'll have an adjustment, but it'll be a very small downward adjustment as of right now, unless blocks come in.
That's with all the Texas miners turned off too.
Yeah, but last week it was estimated to be like a negative 2 to 4% adjustment, so more hash rate may or may not have come on the network. Over the last week, Clark's mempool is pretty sparse right now. There's 1,845 transactions sitting in that. Samurai unspec capacity is 4,387.63 bitcoins, or 160.8 million cuck-bucks. Why are you throwing your hands up? You knew I was going to do it.
Bitcoin.
You knew I was going to do it.
I will correct you every time.
Have you gone to the beach?
No, I just got here. I got here last night.
Yeah. So let's hop into the list. Canadian truckers GoFundMe suspended and under review.
Yeah.
Pretty fucked up GoFundMe.
Well, first of all, shout out to all the protesters in Canada. TFTC stands with you. Love to see it. I phrased it specifically because people are like, the clickbait headline is that GoFundMe has blocked them and like taken their money and returned the money or whatnot. But it's technically they're sitting there in this like pending process. Um, and it should be really interesting to see how they proceed here because I mean, if they do end up blocking them and they do end up stopping them from getting the money that they've raised, um, I really do think this is the single biggest advertisement for Bitcoin since WikiLeaks.
Yeah, it's what is the justification? GoFundMe. I mean, these people are peacefully protesting. They're trying to raise money to enable them to protest because they're obviously not working for an extended period of time, a number of weeks, and there's many people involved in the rally. They're all congregating in Ottawa, which is the capital of Canada, and it's been incredible to watch over the last week as Justin Trudeau flees the city and then has these press conferences.
Where the fuck is he?
Right? Apparently he's in the
and
U.S.
now he's pretending
somewhere.
He has COVID too.
Pretending he has COVID.
He
and then,
he's in quarantine. He tested positive for COVID.
And then he's calling everybody racist. He's calling them transphobic. He's calling them Nazis. And then if you see videos,
the guy who did blackface like 3 times on picture.
Fuck this dude. He's
if you're on picture 3 times doing blackface, it's got to be more than that, right? Like,
yes.
There's no way there's 100% picture rate on his blackface attempts.
Well, it's you got to give him credit where credit is due. He is a soulless sociopath. The way he is, the way like these press conferences are. So he's just completely ignoring what's going on. The unity that is being displayed in Canada right now. You have Sikhs, you have natives, you have obviously Christians, Muslims, like,
cold
blacks,
people.
whites, cold people. Every one of them is cold, is a cold person. And they're gathering together and say, we want to be free. And not only are they having great success up in Canada, like shaking the foundations of the kleptocratic regime in charge, but they're emboldening people around the world. You see truckers rallies popping up in Germany, the Netherlands. There's been rumblings of one starting here in the United States. Haven't seen anything materialize yet. Apparently the Biden administration's worried about that happening. But yeah, they're holding strong and they're holding Justin Trudeau's feet to the fire, and he just turns around and says, "Oh, you're all homophobic, racist Nazis." I'm not going to confront the crux of the issue that is driving you to do, literally, pun intended, driving you to do all this.
So we have a bunch of freaks in the comments saying that the GoFundMe is all right, and the truckers said it's getting processed. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, that is good news.
I've seen a bunch of tally coins.
The beautiful thing is, I mean, regardless of what happens there, anyone in the world can crowdfund money using Bitcoin. They don't have to rely on a centralized company to actually pay them out at the end of the day. They don't have to give up their privacy to that centralized company. And they don't have to give a financial cut to that company. They don't have to wait for it to settle. So Bitcoin provides a very unique exit for people that are blocked from traditional crowdfunding methods. And as Marty said, BTC Sessions, Ben Sessions, and a couple other Canadians, along with DJ Booth, have been using Tallycoin to raise money. And Tallycoin's been around for a while as a non-custodial, easy way to raise Bitcoin crowdfunding. But the biggest limitation was it was hard to do Lightning donations because you need an always-on node. Tallycoin recently released an Umbrel app. So Ben is literally just running the Umbrel app on his node, on his Umbrel, and this little Raspberry Pi in his closet or something, and it's accepting Lightning donations from around the world through Tallycoin.
It's pretty crazy.
Fucking cool.
I mean, think about that.
And I donated. All the freaks should donate as well.
Donate. I'll donate after this. Maybe if we can get a QR code up on the screen car, we'll donate while we're doing this. But think about that. Like Ben, BTC Sessions, he's just one individual at his house. He's got a node running on a Raspberry Pi, running Umbrel, right? Download the Tallycoin app and is enabling individuals the world over to contribute to this fundraising effort. There's one dude didn't need to go to GoFundMe. It's pretty insane. Like, and it's just happening.
Powerful as fuck.
Right? Like it's happening. Like, this is the beauty of Bitcoin and what it enables. And It is power to the people. GoFundMe shut it down. You have the government ignoring you. I can see Justin Trudeau getting vindictive and trying to shut down people's bank accounts. They could easily turn to Ben's Raspberry Pi. Ben, I don't want to put the spotlight on you, but it seems like you've done that already yourself. But like, if it's not Ben, it could be somebody else. You can have
I mean, the name of his node is literally BTC Sessions. So when you go to pay on Tallycoin, it's like pay node BTC Sessions. So like, it didn't exactly try to hide it. I mean, also with this type of thing, right? Like, there's an element of trust on who is taking the donations and who is going to actually pay them out to the truckers, to the protesters, make sure the money actually gets where it's supposed to go. So like, you really can't do this fully anonymously. Like, you need to have someone that has some kind of strong public reputation that is behind it, so that you have some kind of faith that the money is going to get where it's going.
Lightning. Yeah, you've got to. I mean, it's, again, there is trust involved with this. Like, I don't think Ben's going to run away with the money, but
you could have like a NIM. You could have like NIM reputations do it. So like, you could have like 6102 could raise money for something, and I would feel comfortable trusting him with $200, $300, million sats going to the right cause. But like, no matter what, who's ever running it needs to have some kind of reputation. Otherwise, you're not going to really get much donations.
Boom. That's the beauty of Bitcoin right there. I just donated live on
there.
How
cool is that?
Peer-to-peer from my node.
Did you see how it popped up when you scanned it? It said paying BTC Sessions, right?
Yeah. And so from my node that I'm running, straight to Ben's, peer-to-peer, money transfer, instant settlement over the Lightning Network. Paid, baby. Let's go.
Which app did you use?
I don't want to disclose because it's been deprecated for a while and it proves that I'm like a lazy Bitcoiner. But the Zap app.
Did you? Okay. So you actually did use your own node.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for. I'm gonna move to Zeus eventually, but
I was trying to call. I thought you used bluewallet custodial, and I was gonna.
No, I used.
I was like, yeah, Marty, it does sound good when you say from my node to your node.
It came from our node.
There you go.
Yeah. So to all of our Canadian friends up north, keep fighting a good fight. You guys are emboldening people around the world. It's beautiful to see, and it truly is peaceful. I mean, just all the videos I've seen have been peaceful, and like the Confederate flags and the Nazi flags would not be surprised at all if that's just some what's it called? Not a false flag. Provocateurs. Yes. Like, and I've only seen one or two pop up on my Twitter feed. So like for Justin Trudeau to take those potential provocateurs and use them to paint a broad brush on everybody involved in these protests is pretty sickening, actually. And it highlights.
You just send a government agent with some hate flags and boom, you're done.
Yeah. The whole thing is racist. Yeah. Fuck Justin Trudeau. Maybe he went to Cuba, the homeland of his father. And we talk about the Cuban nipple crisis quite a bit here. If you freaks don't know, Justin Trudeau is the son of Fidel Castro. His mom was a whore who has been known to be close with Fidel Castro. And he looks nothing like what they claim his father to be. Sparrow, bluewallet, and Trezor removed the AOPP support. This is big. This popped on.
Lots of outrage on Twitter.
Yeah, if you guys listened last week, this hopped on our radar. I believe a freak asked us in the comments. I believe all the news about AOPP was dropping as we were recording.
Yep.
And so this has to do with the Swiss regulators attempting to force Bitcoin service providers to comply with the travel rule by FATF, and they basically AOPP is asking wallets to add a feature which enables users of those wallets to sign and confirm that they possess an address. And so a few of these wallets were complying with the request from the Swiss government, and for very good reason, people stood up on Twitter and said, this is fucked up. If you're a wallet supporting this, we're not going to support you. And
but to be clear, it wasn't the Swiss government asking these projects to support it. It was a group of Swiss companies led by Shift Crypto, the makers of the Bitbox, that were they developed this product. So all of these wallets can already pretty much every good Bitcoin wallet, including Bitcoin Core, can sign using one of your addresses to prove that you own the address. Right. This is what we always tell CSW to do to prove that he's Satoshi, and he's never done it. Right. It's a native, very
Feature.
awesome, powerful feature of the Bitcoin network of the Bitcoin protocol.
Yeah, the we asked Craig to do it, and he had a list of addresses that he claimed with his, and somebody who actually owned one of the addresses signed. It was like, you don't own this. I do.
Right. Yeah. Um, so basically what happened was so this went into effect in like 2019, right? So if you're using a Swiss exchange, you've been doing this since 2019. If you're using a Swiss KYC exchange, you're mostly manually doing it. But Shift was the first ones to integrate this like more fluid interface where you just like click a button and it just like automatically like makes it fucking happen. And then they submitted pull requests to popular open source wallets, which is what they did with Sparrow and bluewallet. And they were like, oh, it's just an easier way to sign. Like they didn't really think about it. So it wasn't like the Swiss government, like, I feel like it's an important distinction. It wasn't like the Swiss government like reached out to Craig Raw and was like, comply with this, you cuck. There was like a pull request that like looked kind of benign. That was like, you already offer signing. Just can you support this URI scheme when you click it? That it automatically goes to the signing dialogue and puts you through that process or whatever. But anyway, there's a lot of pushback. All these wallets pulled they pulled support, and the pushback, it was like people noticed it because Trezor added support, and Trezor like released a press release about how like now they're very easy to use in Switzerland. So that's what caused all the exposure to it existing in the first place. But this is exactly, this is the type of things that is going to happen. It's the slippery slope's happening regardless of AOPP gets implemented into the individual wallets. Like the exchanges are going to still require signing. Probably more exchanges are going to start doing it around the world, address signing. Then after that, it's going to be, you're not allowed to do certain types of transactions. We're going to actively change the value, which we already see in most of the places. And then the real fear, right, which we've talked about many times, is like you just won't even be able to withdraw from KYC services. Or you'll be able to withdraw, but you can only send to addresses that you've signed. And from there, you can only send from addresses you signed. Right. And and that seems to kind of be where we're going. And the real threat here is KYC. It's KYC. It's not signing addresses. But I do completely agree with the idea that we shouldn't be having non-custodial, open source, private Bitcoin wallets, sovereign Bitcoin wallets, making it easier to comply with burdensome regulation. It should be that friction should exist because that friction makes it harder for them to actually run a business in that kind of state of affairs. But I guess at the same point, arguments for AOPP would be that more people will likely to just keep it custodial in the KYC service because they can't figure out how to sign, so they're not even going to withdraw. And let's be honest, even if they don't have to sign, most noobs come in and they just keep it on the custodial exchange anyway. So any little friction you add there from withdrawal, it's going to be harder. It's going to be less likely people actually withdraw.
Yeah, like we said last week, it's a bit odd this is coming from the Swiss government that they're forcing exchanges to have their customers sign before withdrawing or shortly after, considering they've been held up as a bastion of financial privacy for decades. I mean, that was the famous Barack Obama quote when he talked about a hardware wallet. It was like you have a Swiss bank account in your pocket, which is supposed to be highly private and secure.
Yeah, I mean, but that's more of a meme at this point. During World War II, they were great at hiding Nazi wealth. But it's been a long time since then. So we talked about this a little bit on Dispatch this week, and I'm curious on your opinion. I mean, we have them on the list anyway. So Spectre just updated their wallet, and one of the features they added was Swan support. Um, and Swan is obviously a KYC regulated exchange, and they have two main features that basically their whole product revolves around, and that is um, auto stacking, right? So stack every day, every week, every month, or whatever you set the amount, and auto withdrawals, right? And so you're constantly stacking, constantly stacking. Obviously, you've already given them all your KYC information, and then it's going to auto withdraw to your wallet. Now, the way most people use that is they put in a static address where they're reusing an address, right?
Hmm.
They're not signing the address, but they're reusing the address, right? Um, that address is obviously theirs, and it's obviously connected to the KYC information, even without signing. It's very, very obvious it's theirs. And if they don't take any forward privacy uh, precautions going forward, like collaborative transactions such as CoinJoin, maybe using their own node, holding their own keys, using Lightning, they're going to be tracked in the future forever using that same information. Now, to mitigate that to a degree, well, not to mitigate that, but the reused address also has another issue, right? Because when you look on chain, if you see an address that is, adding to it $100 every week or something, you can assume that it's someone auto stacking. The same person is auto stacking to that address, right?
Hmm.
Um, it's like a relatively easy heuristic to spot, right? It's just someone that's going through the auto withdrawal process. They're constantly sending. So how do you mitigate that? You mitigate that by not reusing addresses, but that breaks the auto withdrawal flow. So they have a tool where you can put an XPub in and it generates like the next 10, 20 addresses, uploads them to Swan, and then Swan uses a new address every time. But that was kind of difficult for users to do because, Peter McCormick doesn't even know what an XPub is. Most people don't know what an XPub is. So Spectre integrated Swan's new API. And with Spectre, you can create a new wallet or you can use one of your existing wallets. That could be single sig or multi sig. You can link it to Swan, and Spectre automatically uploads 10 addresses to Swan, the next 10 addresses. And on Spectre, it doesn't let you use those addresses because they're reserved for Swan, so because you don't want to reuse those addresses.
Hmm.
So upload the 10 addresses. When those 10 addresses end, it uploads another 10 addresses, and you can just auto stack and auto withdraw directly into your own wallet, whether that's multi-sig or single sig, using your own node through Spectre. Those 10 addresses are obviously yours. You're basically going through the same process. I mean, they're not signed, but there's a heuristic there that if you're uploading 10 addresses, it's coming from Spectre. Like they know those are your addresses. This KYC company knows they are your addresses. Is that more dangerous or less dangerous than AOPP? Is that okay because it has good user flow? Like, where do we draw the line there? Where is the
Yeah, I mean, it's probably the same, right? Because my first thought went to, all right, obviously you're up. I mean, I just think Cash App, when I send Bitcoin off, I mean, they know it's an address I'm associated with, where they assume it is, I
you could be
assume.
paying me or car or something?
Yeah, it could be doing, yeah. So, like,
Or
that's the other,
probably not.
with this too. I think, what if somebody tried to hack, like, the Swan Flow, and they just had a friend set up a KYC account, and they were paying them to stack on behalf of them?
I mean, yeah, you could do that with AOPP too.
Exactly. So, like, yeah, it's indifferent. Yeah, maybe it's not different at all, really. AOPP is just an
My
extra signing step.
my point is that the issue isn't the signing of addresses as much as it is the
KYC.
fucking KYC
Yeah.
regulation in the first place. The idea that we just have every Bitcoin company keeping lists of Bitcoiners, our personal information, and our withdrawal history, and that can be used to track our full financial future going forward, right? Another example that I brought up on Dispatch, Casa. With Casa, you can onboard directly in Casa. Casa has a closed source app. They know your balances. You use their own node. They know your transactions, and they have your KYC information when you buy through them. Is that worse or better than AOPP?
Again, it's the
Like,
same, right?
in some ways, it could be worse because they actually
The
control the
closed
wallet you're
source
sending
app.
to as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. Closed source app. You don't know. It's all fucked. I mean, we talk about this all the time on this podcast. KYC AML is dangerous. It's completely ineffective. And it's pervasive.
Robert Hamilton made a good point, which I did forget to mention, and I think this is the key distinction
For the
is
slippery
that
slope.
AOPP is being done for compliance. Regulators are asking for it. AOPP is being done for regulators for compliance. Why? Like that's why it exists. The Swan flow or the CASA flow is being done primarily for users to make their experience better rather than actually complying with regulators. But I don't know if that distinction matters all that much when the end result is kind of the same.
Well, again, going back to the slippery slope, it's like you just slowly, the normalization of like forced activity on the user's part with the signing, I think is a bad precedent to set. It's like, oh, you guys were willing to sign the AOPP thing. Now why don't you give us the rest of your addresses from your non-KYC stuff? If you're willing to do that, why wouldn't you be willing to do this? Yeah, I agree with Rob there. Like the forced action on behalf of the user is a conditioning tool, I would argue, but it does get you to the same place at the end of the day. But maybe the AOPP path can add additional paths in the future in terms of forced action.
The fucking conditioning tool is that almost every new person that comes into Bitcoin is taking a selfie, uploading their ID, putting in all their personal information, and very few people complain about that or talk about that. But
we talk about it all the time.
We get an easy win on a dumb addition to KYC, which is the address signing.
Yes. The Bank Secrecy Act should be abolished. Again, the criminals are going to criminal. The people at the highest echelon of these institutions, the banking institutions and the political institutions, are some of the biggest criminals, and they don't follow any of the rules that they're forcing on the rest of us when it comes to KYC, AML, particularly compliance on an international level between users in different countries. You have an unelected regulatory body just putting out guidelines that just so happen to get adopted with little pushback in the Financial Action Task Force leading all of this. Nobody asked for them. Nobody voted for them. Nobody really knows who they are, how they get to the positions that they hold. It's all fucked. We need to really push back against KYC AML, and I think a future in which Bitcoin becomes the dominant money on the planet is going to make that happen, right? Once you get to the circular economy, but you do need to get to the circular economy, and so what you need to do to get there is take control of your Bitcoin. You have a private key, and so Matt mentioned XPub. Most people don't understand XPubs, and I think it's a learning experience. We should always try to explain fundamentals when we can. So the way many Bitcoin wallets, when you create a Bitcoin wallet, what a wallet is it's a pair. You have a private key, and then you have a slew of public addresses connected with that. And the most common way that these pairs are created now, which is HD wallets, which is hierarchical deterministic, correct?
Yeah.
Which means you can have many different XPubs that have. So an XPub.
You have one XPub, and then that XPub is.
You have one private key, and you can have many XPubs with it. Like that's what an account is.
You have the master private key, and you
Yes.
have the XPub, which is the master public key. And from that, you're generating a bunch of addresses from those two pieces of secret.
Yes. But you can have multiple XPubs associated with the master key. That's like what accounts are, like if you use a Trezor wallet.
I guess, but now you're just going to the weeds a little bit.
Yeah. So the point is, you don't want to reuse addresses. Thank you, XFrog. You don't want to reuse addresses.
Too far into the weeds.
It makes it easy. You have a private key, and you have an XPub that has hundreds of public keys associated with it. Every time you send Bitcoin off an exchange or you receive Bitcoin from somebody who's paying you in Bitcoin, you should create a new address, which a lot of wallet softwares make it extremely easy to do this these days. So that it's just good practice too, because you don't want somebody sending your Bitcoin, you don't want them to see every other UTXO that's been sent to you, which would happen if you're reusing an address. That's just weird. And that's actually something Matt and I are talking about on the mining side of things. Like we're trying to think of ways in which you can have more privacy once you move your rewards off a pool. Like it would be cool to have like a paynim type
Yeah,
pool.
Slush should just add paynim support, and then there goes that conversation.
Right.
And so should Swan. Like if Swan just had paynim support, you could just put in your paynim, and then they could just send it every time to your paynim. You wouldn't have to upload any addresses.
Yeah, which would be incredible for privacy for people stacking on Swan or stacking via mining and using Slush Pool or any other pool for that matter for payouts. Is it BIP47 support? Support BIP47 at the pool level.
Yeah, BIP47. Yeah. Well, I don't really care if other pools do it. Just Slush, do it.
Brains disclaimer. Sponsor of the podcast. Biden considering an executive order against Bitcoin. It's been very vague. The White House wants crypto rules as a matter of national security. I agree, Joe Biden. I don't think you're saying any of this because you're mentally incapacitated, but Bitcoin is a matter of national security. We need to get Bitcoin in the hands of as many individuals, American citizens as possible. We need to make sure they're holding their own private keys and securing their own Bitcoin. We need to get Bitcoin mining infrastructure integrated throughout the whole energy sector. It is a matter of national security. This needs to happen. Apparently, Biden's going to come out with an executive order. Nobody really knows what it's going to be. Do you have any inklings? Any?
I don't even think Biden knows what it's going to be yet.
Well, he doesn't even know what day it is. So,
look, I hope that we're wrong and that like the on-ramps don't get closed. But like I've been operating for 6 years now, maybe longer, on the expectation that we might not be able to buy Bitcoin through regulated services. Like you could buy exposure to Bitcoin, but not actually withdraw it. Or if you did withdraw it, there'd be severe limitations on it. So, I mean, I think that's how everyone, regardless of what jurisdiction you're on, Bitcoin is such is the best money we've ever had. Like, if you want you and your family to have it, like, you should probably be trying to accumulate it sooner rather than later, because I expect the on-ramps to get cut.
Yes. Accumulate it to wallets you control.
Right.
Don't be complacent with this. It could happen at any moment, and you will regret it supremely if we get to a point where Biden's handlers wake up and they're like, executive order, you can't move your Bitcoin off exchanges. You'll be like, fuck, I wish I would have
Executive
done
Order
it earlier.
2106.
Right? Could happen.
And once again, I hope this is one of the predictions that I get completely wrong. So that'd be nice.
It would be nice, but prepare with the assumption that it's going to be a correct prediction. Better to be safe than sorry. That's what I would argue. And who knows? I've heard some whispers it's probably going to be a nothing burger of an executive order, but could be wrong there too.
I think the first one will probably be a nothing burger. They just keep going. They keep going, right? We were talking last week about the Treasury, like, the Treasury now is trying to get more power, and they put it in a big omnibus bill or whatever. To all large bills, we call them omnibus, or I don't
so.
even.
And they're all very large bills now, so I think
they hide it like right in the middle of a long ass bill with like very vague wording, and they're just going to keep on picking away. Yeah.
And it's important to highlight that it's lobbyists to write these bills. And so you think, well, what is the intent and who are the lobbyists? And I wouldn't be surprised if it's entrenched financial institutions who are severely threatened by the thought of Bitcoin and the industry growing around Bitcoin succeeding and replacing them. So the regulatory moat is something that many large banks benefit from immensely at the moment, and they want to keep that moat, and will pass laws via lobbyists. The politicians don't write the bills, it's the lobbyists. They'll pass laws via lobbyists that restrict Bitcoin companies, upstarts from competing, or at least attempt to. As we're seeing, it's gonna be hard to stop Bitcoin. Like I just fucking sent a Canadian friend Bitcoin node to node, and there's somebody would have to go to my house and unplug my node.
Node to node sounds kinky.
Yeah, it's like docking. Don't look up what docking is. You're all going to know. It's a funny term.
Most of the freaks already know what it is. I would assume.
Yeah.
Considering we've got someone in the comments that goes by USD cock, I just feel like.
Yeah. It's just got a text from my wife. The babysitter bailed tonight because conditions are just not that bad.
Yeah, I mean, people in Texas can't drive as soon as there's a little bit of ice on the road.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy, man. It's good progression of this conversation. Congress and Davidson were talking a lot about KYC, AML, privacy.
It's like HDMI, but for penises. Sorry for interrupting it. Okay, continue.
It's a very apt description, Braj.
Thank you, Braj. Appreciate it.
The Congressman Warren Davidson, up from the great state of Ohio.
This was great.
Supports financial privacy. It's time to preserve our right to transact privately. Excuse me.
I feel like he didn't get enough credit for this article. This is straight fire. I mean, he's a sitting fucking congressman, and like you could tweet this shit out of the Samurai Wallet account and people wouldn't even notice.
Right. So go up to the headline. I'll read the description under. Never mind. Yeah, it was just yeah. So I haven't read this yet. What are your highlights?
He makes the full. It's like everything we talk about on here and Dispatch all the time. Like financial privacy. Like people need financial privacy. The importance of financial privacy. The chilling effect that happens when people don't have financial privacy. How cash is private and how we're losing cash and how we can't trust the U.S. government to basically come up with a digital cash alternative that actually respects privacy. I mean, this dude, Warren was on point here. Congressman Davidson was on point here.
He's a great ally in the fight.
Love to see it.
We had the pleasure of meeting him down here in Austin, I believe in the fall. He was at Unchained's offices at Bitcoin 2021 last year too, and he was up on stage with Senator Lomas. He was making good points about this as well. So again, like maybe that's we just need more people talking about this. I think there's I don't want to say complacency, but maybe complacency is the right word, or one of the right words, as well as just inaction in terms of actually getting these ideas out there on that stage. And
I don't know. I mean, they're still definitely the minority, right? I completely agree with you that, I mean, look, we're lucky in America that there is some separation of powers, and that we're lucky, we also have on the thing, but the Arizona bill, that we're lucky that we have states that are flexing their own rights. And we'll talk about that in a second. But ultimately, the Bitcoin caucus is still very small. There's not that many of us on the Hill. I guess us. I'm going to say us, I guess. There's like 5 of them, right? There's like 5 Congress people, whether Senate or congressmen, that are pro-Bitcoin. And then the financial privacy niche of the Bitcoin niche is going to be even smaller, because you already see it on Bitcoin Twitter. It's small, right? Like, what is the privacy niche of Bitcoin Twitter? Like 10% max, if that. And that's, I'm not even I'm not including like the crypto Twitter types too, right? If you include crypto Twitter types, it's like 1%.
1%. Yeah. Everybody's number go up. Number doesn't go up.
So like, even if we have the states flex, they're still going to be like, yeah, well, just hold it in Coinbase, or you can hold it in your own address, but reuse that address and sign it for us, and if you want to spend it, just make sure you just ask us if it's illicit activity first and whether or not you can spend it, and then you get to see your purchasing power increase.
Yeah. What's
up?
Yeah. Ben, we were talking about you earlier.
Ben, make sure you have a UPS connected to that Umbral node.
Yeah. Well, again, Rep Davidson going out there, putting these ideas forward is a good sign. It's good. It's something you want to see more of. This is what I would say. Not from you particularly, Warren, but from others who believe this. Again, like when we talk about like financial privacy should be a human right. It's not a crime. The whole if you have nothing to hide, then what are you worried about? Is a terrible argument. It's the number one argument that these people go to. But I don't fucking want you to know what I'm doing with my money. It's my money. My money, my choice. Okay? I'll do what I want with it as long as I'm not harming others. Leave me the fuck alone. And I don't. It's like creepy that you want to know exactly how much money I'm making, where it's going, and it's indicative of the state of the empire, if you will, the American empire. This is typically what happens at the end of empires: is they get so bankrupt, they're so indebted.
Someone bought it in 2020.
What are you saying?
I went to Namecheap to try and buy My Money, My Choice.
You're talking to the comments. I can't even see them. The freaks at home listening to the podcast app have no idea what you're mentioning.
I wasn't looking at the comments. You said My Money, My Choice. I thought that was a very good comment. I went to buy the domain while you continued to talk, and it was purchased in 2020.
I'm sorry.
Continue.
I'm sorry. My Money, My Choice. It is a good, yeah. My Money, My Choice. I just thought
someone owns it. I don't own it.
I lost where I was going. No, financial privacy.
That's on me.
No, I thought you were talking. No, it's on me. I thought I used it as an opportunity to like lash out at the comment conversation. But it's a human right. Like, financial privacy is not a bad thing.
It's a human fight.
And it's a human fight as well.
Yeah.
God, I had something to say.
And look, I think private Bitcoin usage is protected by the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution. If you believe in that shitcoin, it should protect it. But we'll see how much that means.
Well, I think the First Amendment too. I think it's free speech. Bitcoin is just 100%. Speech. Bitcoin is just speech at the end of the day. It is letters and numbers. Shout out Beauty
code.
It is code. Beauty will die on this hill.
But fourth is unreasonable search and seizure.
Yes.
So, I mean the actual privacy of it.
It's not like
using it privately.
That's not respected anymore. We have no knock raids.
Well, no. So the way they got around it with like the Bank Secrecy Act or whatever is because they have something called the third party doctrine, where if you share that information with the third party, then you don't have an expectation of privacy. But if you're using your own node and holding your own keys, you're not sharing that information with a third party. So it should be protected by the Fourth Amendment.
Yeah. This is why you run your own node. This is why you control your keys, freaks. It will protect you from the long arm of the U.S. government, which is always coming after you. Oh, that's where I was going. The end of empires. These nations are so indebted. They increase their efforts to tax collect because they need to pay back what they can't pay in typical tax revenue because they've overextended themselves. And this is why you see the encroachment, or part of the reason why. Like, they want to control you. They hate you. They want you to act in certain ways because they don't like you actually being free. But on top of that, they have racked up so much debt that they need to squeeze out every Satoshi from you because they need to pay back the debts they've accrued. And this is, if you read Roman history, I mean, obviously tax collectors were a big part of their society towards the end of the Catholic Church. The tithes, the Catholic Church was a quasi-nation state ruler leading up to the 16th century, and the taxes that they put on their constituents got exorbitant towards the end. That's why Martin Luther stood up and said, enough is enough. Here's the 95 Theses. You have no control over the Bible anymore. We're gonna translate it for the masses so they can read it themselves. And they'll find that these tithes that you've been thrusting on them are actually not justified by the Bible at all. The indulgences are not necessarily tithes. You pay your tithe to God. The indulgences where people were paying to get into heaven were essentially just exorbitant taxes on the people living in the 15th, 16th century. So this happens at the end of every empire. It's happening now. Be aware of it and fight back. Maybe we have this opportunity living in 2022 in the digital age. We have communication tools and information services like this podcast where we can get the word out quicker and identify the problem first, which is we have these flailing governments around the world trying to clamp down and control and just say, hey, you guys fucked up. You overextended yourselves. Let's just recognize that. Let's cut our losses, and we're going to go build this parallel economy with Bitcoin and distributed systems.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Sorry. What is like the South Park with BP? That's what I thought of.
Sorry. Matt mentioned it in passing, but yes, last week, big news out of Arizona.
Is this big news?
No, I don't. I mean, I think it's just a publicity stunt.
I don't get it.
Bill introduced to make Bitcoin legal tender in Arizona. Carr and I were talking about this before.
It's not like El Salvador. It's not like El Salvador legal tender, right?
No, well, it's not going to pass. I think Wyoming tried to do this. It's technically unconstitutional to actually do this.
But their senator introduced it, though.
Yes. Yeah. So Wendy Rogers.
It's like their real senator, right? It's like the one of two national senators.
Yes, and she's been trying.
It's not like some random state representative or something.
Yeah, but it seems like she's on engaged in an effort to court the Bitcoin constituency.
The shitcoiners too. Did you see
like
the
where my Ethereum
like ADA?
Where are my Cardano?
She's like, is Cardano the future, or am I just missing something, or something like that?
Yeah. So here's the bill, and there was another one too.
I think they're allowed to. It doesn't mean it's tax free, which is like probably the number one benefit of legal tender.
No, I mean if this bill passes in Arizona, the federal government's gonna give them a tongue lashing and potentially.
But don't a bunch of states have the ability to basically make their own gold coins?
Yeah,
and this is what my understanding was.
Yeah,
so how is this any different?
It has to be gold or silver because it's defined as literally gold or silver.
Yeah, but Bitcoin's digital gold. So
hey, don't put Bitcoin in a box, okay?
You got to read between the lines.
So you can read here.
Like,
so the word, I think the most important word in all of this is specie. So you can see bullet 2 there. Specie issued at any time by the United States government, and then specie as defined by any other specie that a court of competent jurisdiction rules by final. There's something in the Constitution. So this is, if you go to the Constitution, we don't have to pull it up now, but in the Constitution, it defines specific species.
Pull up the Constitution, Carr.
Specific species being gold and silver, I believe. If anybody in the comments wants to. It's at the bottom there, the very bottom.
It literally says on the bottom. She put the definition.
Coins having precious metal content. And I believe gold and silver are the only precious metals under that definition.
Besides Bitcoin.
Yeah. She's trying to, who knows, maybe she can get something pushed through, and then it starts a conversation. If anything, it's a conversation starter. Like, I believe Bitcoin should be legal tender. I believe you do as well. And I do think, again, going back to El Salvador, I do want somebody to do a deep dive on the nature of the international trade agreements and what happens when a country defines a certain currency as legal tender. Like, does every counterpart in that trade agreement have to recognize that currency as legal tender?
They haven't yet.
Yeah. But do they, technically, can somebody, Bitcoin Magazine, CoinDesk, Wall Street Journal, somebody do some good journalistic research into this and dive into the trade agreements and give us a definitive answer? Is it the case that these counterparts in these trade agreements should be, obviously they are not right now, but should they, by definitionally under the law, have to recognize Bitcoin as legal tender because of El Salvador's move?
Well, not legal tender. Legal tender is the wrong word, but foreign currency, right? And then it's treated like foreign currency.
Yes.
Rather than like a commodity.
Which would have massive tax implications.
Yeah, but even if it did, somehow, we won a court case and we got it treated as foreign currency, they would close that loophole so fucking quickly.
But again, it's memetics narrative game. It proves why are they doing that?
No, but this is another thing we have on the list is a group of congressmen put forward this new bill, which has been attempted multiple times, which is this idea that for smaller Bitcoin transactions, you don't pay capital gains tax for.
$200. What is this? A transaction for
first of all,
ants?
wait, no, it's $200. I agree that it's ridiculously low, but it's $200 worth of gains. So it could actually be a transaction that's larger than $200, depending on when you purchase the Bitcoin. But in $200 worth of realized gains as part of the transaction, it's exempt. So it's actually a bit more than $200.
It's probably
For instance, like, I mean, if you bought Bitcoin yesterday at like 37K and today it's at 37,200, you can do a significantly high transaction where you're not realizing $200 gain. But anyway, my point is, because that's how it's worded. I'm not a lawyer. That's my understanding. Gains of $200 or less. But like some people are like, oh, I'm just going to structure all my transactions so that I do like 20 payments of 199. Like, these guys professionally take our money for a living. Like that's all they do. Like they're not gonna just let our whole industry just like restructure our shit so it's like right underneath whatever the limit ends up being. It's like there's an element of naivety there, or naivete there, that exists on Bitcoin Twitter, where it's like some of it is just joking. I understand, that's cool, but some of it is actually like people actually believe it. Like boating accidents, structuring transactions, like all these different, like you can't be cheeky with them. Like that's how you end up in jail. Like they'll just fucking put a gun to your head.
Yeah, they don't care. They do not care. Pay your taxes, freaks. Car, you just had it up. I mean, that was not what
but
we were
that would
just
be
talking.
a great bill, regardless.
Yeah, it would be. But this is different. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, this is different. Yeah, this is the wrong one. There's a different one. I think I put it in the list.
Yeah, this is in the list.
Maybe I didn't.
No, you did. IRS signals retreat on block reward taxation.
Oh no, I put this in the list, but there's the $200 de minimis thing. It's really important because people, like, we talk all day, every day about, when I say we, Bitcoiners, about how we need these different protocol improvements to like make Bitcoin more likely to be spent, so people spend it instead of holding it. Like we have Lightning now, it's easier to spend it, and like we need wallets that support it, so it's easier to spend. The single biggest thing holding back a Bitcoin, the Bitcoin economy in terms of actually earning Bitcoin and spending Bitcoin, is burdensome tax regulation. It is the number one reason by far. Like it's not even fucking close. So if we start to see governments like El Salvador, right, where they come in and they basically, I mean, fucking de minimis exception there. Like if you're an El Salvador resident, like, and you're not a U.S. citizen, because U.S. just taxes everyone no matter what. If you're a U.S. citizen wherever you live, you have no capital gains tax when you send Bitcoin. And as a result, we can actually start to see a Bitcoin economy grow there. That's the main thing holding everything back.
Yeah. Yeah, like that $20 I just sent the Canadian truckers. I should just be able to send that.
Right.
With no tax implications. It's fucked up. It's fucked up. Hey, U.S. government, do you want us to be free? I don't think so. But props for props are due to Joshua Jarrett, who sued the IRS for a refund in 2019. He reported proof of stake gains or staking rewards as income on his tax statement that year, and he asked for a refund for that income because he didn't sell it yet, and he wanted it to be defined as something like a crop that you grow. So you're not actually working for it. It's not income. You're not technically getting paid by anybody, but you're producing a good, which is the tokens produced by that staking activity. I'm not sure what chain he was staking on, but he sued the IRS.
It wasn't ETH.
for not giving him it wasn't ETH for not giving him his refund on that staking income, and so that's going to court. And basically, what happened this week or last week is the IRS It seems as though they believe they're going to lose the case, so they are attempting to give Joshua his refund back, and he's refusing to take the refund back because he thinks,
Yeah, they're trying to settle.
yeah, they're trying to settle, and he's saying, no, I don't want to settle. I'm going to follow through with the case so that everybody in my position can benefit from the ability to not have to pay income tax on the gains.
He wants to set a precedent.
Yes, which is massive. Shout out to
And, like,
Joshua
yeah.
for fighting this battle. And so his particular case is about proof of stake gains, but if he wins the battle, it seems that this will be very beneficial for Bitcoin miners as well.
Yeah, well, that's the important part.
Yeah. And so you'll be able
Because
to
like right now as it stands, if you're mining Bitcoin, you owe income tax based on the price that the Bitcoin was worth at the time of mining it, which means when we enter when Bitcoin dumps, like we're in this situation right now, miners are put in like a bit of a scary situation where their tax the tax liability can outweigh the amount of Bitcoin they have, or make up a significant portion of it. So to be a prudent tax compliant miner, you basically have to constantly sell Bitcoin to just keep it on the side, to keep your like tax liabilities on the side. If this actually sets precedent, then you won't have to do that.
Yeah. The precedent would be it's not taxed as income, it's taxed as something that is produced like a crop or some other good.
A cow, right? Isn't
Like a
it
cow,
like,
yeah.
He's arguing it's like a cow.
Yes, and then you would only be taxed at the point of sale if you were to sell the Bitcoin. And then it's like, do you pay capital gains tax or sales tax on that?
I think you pay income and
Yeah,
gains on that at that point.
Yeah, maybe just income though.
I don't know. I have no idea. Never haven't owned a cow yet. Looking forward to it.
Not a tax accountant or a tax lawyer, but this seems.
Consult your local accountant.
Yes, but this would be massive, and it seems like the IRS is backing up if they're trying to settle. So here's to bringing attention to this case and encouraging Joshua as he embarks on actually setting a precedent, which would benefit a massive amount of people in the United States.
I would argue it's a bigger deal for proof of stake chains, but obviously it could be a massive benefit for proof of work. The reason I argue it's a bigger deal for proof of stake chains is because so proof of stake chains usually incorporate some kind of inflationary element, right? And they say the inflation isn't as bad, even though Bitcoin is a fixed supply. The forever inflation isn't so bad because if you stake, you can get a piece of that inflation, so you don't get diluted, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's a poor tax strategy in the current regime, because that portion that you're trying to make up for not being diluted is then taxed and taken by the government. So you end up giving a significant portion of your forever inflation to the local governments. And that's what's really cool about Bitcoin being fixed supply, as opposed to
inflation,
a situation where because they'll say it's the same, right? Like the argument is oftentimes made that it's the same, but it's a non-tax beneficial setup compared to a fixed supply currency. Does that make sense? Did I explain that all right?
Yes, I believe you did. Staking. You're right. Ethereum definitely wasn't staking on that chain. They're not proof of stake yet, and they completely changed. They're not. It's not ETH 2.0 anymore. They threw out ETH 2.0.
Did you see what is that, like the surge? The
surge, yeah. Shout out to the Simply Bitcoin podcast, Eco and CoinCaris. They had a great rip on this, like just looking at the roadmap for the transition to ETH 2.0, the splurge. Yeah, they have.
I don't think it's. That's the joke, is the splurge, right? It's actually the surge or something.
They have like the surge, the merge, the verge. It's like completely idiotic. Like you're all getting fooled. It's never gonna happen. Keeps getting pushed back. This is the year. I mean, they're putting all their eggs in 2022. They put their eggs in 2021, 2020, many years past, but it seems like everybody in the Ethereum world is like 2022 is the year it's happening. Like if it doesn't happen this
They do
year,
that every year, though.
I know. The hopium.
If it doesn't happen this year, they'll just plan on next year.
Yes. We don't have to get into the wormhole stuff. It's just like, it's hilarious.
Whatever. There's a bunch of money was lost in the Solana Ethereum thing.
Yeah. You can, not even going to get into it. Kraken wants its proof of reserves.
We didn't have it on the list. I didn't put it wormhole on the list.
I know. It was just on top of my mind. I had somebody like text me about it, like, oh, what is this? It's like, see? And it's
If
like
you don't
hilarious.
use Solana or ETH,
It's actually
it's
pretty disconcerting. Not disconcerting, but it's just like, oh, the shitcoiners have so much money. Like they lost $200 million within a day.
and they just paid for it.
Yeah.
Like users didn't lose users didn't lose any money. They just like took a portion of the pre-mine and just paid for it.
Yeah. It's,
Which is both commendable and also fucked.
yeah, exactly. I mean, we won't get it. Let's focus on good things like Kraken adding proof of reserves. So if you're a Kraken user, customer, you can now confirm that they hold as much Bitcoin as they say they do.
This is pretty cool.
Yeah, proof of reserves is an idea that's been around for quite a while. Nick Carter is a big champion of proof of reserves, and obviously,
Yeah.
Due
That was
to-
pre-tungsten cubes. He was pro proof of reserves.
yes. Shout out to CoinFloor in the UK. They've been proof of reserve since 2014, I believe. They've set the precedent. Kraken's joined their ranks. I believe Bitstamp has it. Does Bitstamp have it? Or Bitfinex?
I have no idea.
I don't either. But
All
due to-
these exchanges have proof of reserves. They just usually send it to chain surveillance firms and don't let you get to see it.
where are you throwing stuff at?
Sorry, I was throwing a rubber band at the screen.
Yeah. Interesting. But due to the nature of Bitcoin and the ability to validate that Bitcoin is in certain places that people say it is, exchanges have the ability, if they're running an operation that is actually above board and doing what they say they do, they should be able to prove that they have all the Bitcoin that their customers, that they're claiming that their customers own on exchange if they haven't taken it into possession yet. And so what you can do is use cryptography to basically validate that the exchange has a certain amount of Bitcoin on
Wait,
it.
how do they do that?
What do you mean?
They sign addresses.
Yes. Yeah. Right. It's a double-edged sword.
Come full circle.
It's a benefit and a negative, depending on the context of the address signing. So yeah, you can if you're a Kraken user, you can verify that the Bitcoin they say that you own or that they owe you, they actually have, and you will be able to receive when and if you decide to take it into your own possession. So shout out to Kraken. This is a big move.
Definitely good to see.
Props where props are due. Chill with the shit coins and the staking. Seeing Jeremy
Yeah,
Welch
they're not
out there
going to.
pumping staking. Come on, dude. Come on.
I love the shit coins. They Kraken.
I know. I have not dove into this topic, so I'll let you take this one. And I'm sure you
What
can explore
topic?
the Fulcrum Electrum server being much more performant.
Oh, this is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So when you use a lot of wallets, the back end is an Electrum server. That Electrum server can either be a public Electrum server where you're trusting someone else to run it. A lot of people theorize that it's chain surveillance companies that are running them because they can track your transactions and your balances, or it could be your own Electrum server. So over the last few years, we've seen these full node projects, these full node implementations where you can run on a single board computer, a bunch of different, you can run your own node on them, right? And a key element of that is you can run your own Electrum server. Most of them are running Electris. Some of them are running Electrum X. Some people are running Electrum X manually, but most of them are running Electris, which is Electrum Rust server. Then you take that server, you can connect it over to Sparrow, you can connect it over to bluewallet, you can connect it over to Spectre, you can connect it to whatever the hell you want to connect it to. Now, most people reuse addresses, buy and hold, So they don't actually go through. We were talking earlier about HD wallets, and with HD wallets, you have something considered an address step, which is you get an address number 0, address number 1, address number 2, address number 3, and you're generating addresses. The more addresses you use, the deeper your wallet is, the more stress that goes on an Electrum server. So Sparrow uses Electrum server as a backend, right? Sparrow recently integrated Whirlpool, and as a result, what that meant was people were using more addresses than the typical Electrum user usually was, because they were doing a bunch of coin joins, they were doing a bunch of collaborative transactions. And what was happening was Electris and ElectrumX were both really struggling, specifically on these single board computers, these Raspberry Pis, these Rock Pros. Um, so Craig looked around and he actually found a different, more lightweight, performant Electrum server that's called Fulcrum. And I don't know if it has the exact. Can you pull up the number? What was the number you said? It's fucking insane. It's I can pull it up real quick. Uh, I wish I just had this number.
Go down to Fulcrum car on this page. Keep going.
It's like fucking crazy.
No, not there. To the right. Yeah, there.
There it is. Initial load, Fulcrum is 22 times faster than Electrum X and 300 times faster than Electris. And on wallet refresh, Fulcrum is 8 times faster than Electrum X and 1.5 times faster than Electris. So it's way, way, way faster than Electris. Super lightweight, compatible with all Electrum server type of wallets that connect to Electrum servers. Now, there's one caveat. Fully open source software, MIT license. Anyone can fork it. Anyone can use it. The one caveat is that it's paid for by a Bcash company. Like the main developer is paid by a Bcash company.
Hey, props for props are due.
But I mean, I think that makes complete sense. Electrum X is done by a Bitcoin SV guy, and it like kind of makes sense that like the developers on the chains that have like unreasonably large data constraints would make more performant servers, right? Because they're getting fucking stressed all the time.
Yeah.
Look at this. Look at these numbers right here. Initial load. Look how crazy that difference is.
It's an order of magnitude, maybe 2.
It's 300x quicker than Electris on initial load. That's insane.
Shout out to the Fulcrum team. Props are due.
Well, shout out to Craig
and Craig.
The Fulcrum, I guess.
Shout out to Craig for finding this and implementing it into Sparrow Wallet. With that being said, I mean, you brought up a good point. Again, going back to XPubs and all that stuff. Another area where we can help educate here. It's something I went through personally and it scared the shit out of me. Like, so if you use something like a BTC Pay server, like we do at TFTC, and like for shoutouts or something like that, donations, and what you do is you upload an XPub so they're not reusing addresses, but what you'll come to find is that a lot of users will come and they'll create an invoice and they just won't pay it. So if you don't pay an invoice, It goes to the next address in the XPub. And if you have
gets deep as fuck real quick.
It gets deep as fuck real quick. But on top of that, like since people aren't paying 2 addresses created in every invoice, like, and you have like multiple invoices created without somebody paying to that address, in typical wallet software, Sparrow does this very well actually. But like typical, like if you plug your Trezor in or your cold card, it won't find the addresses that have been paid to. So it will look like in your account that you don't have any Bitcoin, but you can see on your BTC Pay server that invoices are being paid to certain addresses. But when you go to check your actual wallet, if you're using a hardware wallet, it will look like there's no Bitcoin in the HD account that is associated with that BTC Pay server. So what you have to do is connect that hardware wallet to a wallet like Sparrow and what it's called jump forward and try to find the addresses.
It's called gap limit, right?
Yeah, there's a gap limit. So like after 100 addresses, it'll just stop showing up in
You'll stop checking if there's more than a gap of I think the standard one is 20. Like if you have 20 addresses that are generated that don't have a balance, it just won't even look at address 21 after that.
Yes.
Unless you manually change the gap limit.
So don't fret if you run into this problem. Your Bitcoin's most likely there. You just have to connect your hardware wallet to a software that'll allow you to jump forward and increase the gap limit to look for that Bitcoin.
Your Bitcoin is most likely there.
Yes.
I echo that statement.
Yes.
Not your Bitcoins. Your Bitcoin.
Wow, we had a great list this week. I'm loving. This is a very dense episode. We had.
It's a very big week.
Yeah, we had Michael Saylor, had Jack Dorsey and Lynn Alden on for his Bitcoin for Corporations 2022 symposium
when did Lynn
conference.
come on?
She was on it right before Jack.
So they did double keynotes.
Yeah, two
so
keynotes.
What, it was Saylor and Lynn, and then Saylor and Dorsey.
Yes. Lynn's was incredible.
How great was it when I only saw like a little bit, and I only saw the part where Dorsey was like, I have a miner and I'm mining no KYC sats through Slush Pool, and then I'm sending it to Moon Wallet, and then I'm buying tacos with it.
Yeah, it's the beauty of Bitcoin again, self-sovereign.
So fucking awesome.
You can plug a miner in a permissionless fashion.
BTC Pins has said Lynn was at the end, Dorsey was the beginning, and ended it.
My bad, I got them mixed up. But yeah, I mean that's the beauty, especially from a mining perspective. You want to talk about the beauty of Bitcoin, like completely permissionless. You can permissionlessly plug in a machine, point your hash at a pool or solo mine as if you want to. It seems to be very hot these days. There was another solo miner that mined a block earlier today, I believe. You get Bitcoin to a wallet you control. Yeah, it's definitely some shadow hash rate, like pool gaming thing.
But it's not I think it's wrong to call it solo miner because it's a pool miner with a different payout structure.
Yes.
Like that's the number one distinction that should be made.
Yes.
But by the way, that one is allegedly a freak. I got messaged about it.
Boss, congrats to you, freak.
Yeah, it was a single S9. He had been mining for 24 hours on solo CK pool.
What? He just moved his hash to CK?
A single S9. He moved to
for
single
a day?
S9 because he heard us talking about it in a rabbit hole and stuff, and he saw the hype about it, and he moved to single S9. 24 hours later, he hit the lottery.
Just fucking hit. Hey, 220K cuck bucks richer, or more importantly, at least 625 million sats richer. I don't know what the fees were associated with that, so it's more than that. Congrats to you, freak! I'm pumped for you. If you want to,
Cheers.
If you want to pay us a finder's fee for pushing you towards that pool, TFTC,
well, I don't want to take full credit for it. He said the hype got him into it.
I'm fucking with him. I'm fucking with you. But
Hodl
back to
your
the
sats, freak.
Yes. Go check out the Saylor interview with Dorsey, with Jack Dorsey, and wow, I just pulled a U there, just calling him Dorsey. With Jack and
it's
Lynn.
So much more convenient calling him Dorsey.
Incredible conversations. It's really good, just a peek of the mind of Jack specifically. Thinking about how businesses
you don't
can
call
think about.
Saylor Michael.
I do, Michael. I call him Mikey.
Michael
actually.
and Jack having a conversation.
Yeah, well, they go by their Twitter handles. He's at Saylor and Jack is at Jack, right? And I think that's.
He wasn't always at Saylor. They got him at Saylor.
Oh,
he
they
was
did?
like Michael _ Saylor or something for a while.
Yeah, he had that weak ass handle. Go watch it. It's incredible. And then Lynn's too as well. Bitcoin from a macro perspective. Bitcoin is money.
Yeah, I gotta watch it.
Lightning Network, all that jazz, all covered. And
I appreciated that Saylor and MicroStrategy just put it up on YouTube and didn't like make us like go to one of those like harvest email websites where you have to like put in your email to see the live stream.
Yeah. Shout out to you, Michael.
Which one?
I mean, and they just bought a shit ton more Bitcoin this week too, I believe.
Not that much.
600 more. Oh, not that much.
I mean, not in their scheme of things.
They have like 122,000 right now, I believe, which is insane.
Like, do we even consider it news anymore when they buy like another amount?
Well, I think we should bring it up because we should try to induce FOMO and other corporations. Like, you're gonna let MicroStrategy buy all the Bitcoins?
They don't self-custody it yet.
Not yet. Somebody
what if we refer to Bitcoin held by custodians can be Bitcoins, and then like real Bitcoin is Bitcoin.
Ooh. We can sidebar that. We'll sidebar that. I like
They
that
own
proposition.
Bitcoins. They just don't own Bitcoin.
Yes. And then because it diminishes the importance of Bitcoins in plural. The
Well aware.
somebody hopped in my mentions this week. It was like, whatever you talk about, like corporations not holding their keys, you have to mention like SEC rules, like they're legally not allowed to after a certain
Coinbase
amount.
fucking does it.
Yeah.
Coinbase holds way more than MicroStrategy holds. They do it all themselves. They don't outsource it to
Yeah.
fucking another company.
Yeah. I don't like an appeal to SEC laws. We're changing the game here. If you can take control of your keys, take control of your money, you can prove that you can do that.
Coinbase figured out how to do it. FTX figured out how to do it. Binance figured out how to do it. BitMEX figured out how to do it. Bitfinex figured out how to do it. Bitstamp figured out how to do it. Like, come on, man.
Yeah. That the exchanges get a pass. Yeah, it's all bullshit.
And they have to do withdrawals too. In this case, like MicroStrategy just is hodling. They just have to do a cold storage setup. They don't even have to handle a hot wallet where they're doing withdrawals to random people on the internet. So it's much easier than a Coinbase implementation or a Binance implementation or an FTX implementation.
Yeah, it's certainly less risky for somebody who's just hodling. We have no shout outs this week, so we're going to go straight to software updates. If you freaks want to get a shout out in before the end of the show, I will refresh our BTC Pay server.
And Freak, if one of you freaks sent in a shout out that Marty's not reading right now, feel free to reach out to me. And
Right. Dude, I can promise you I'm not seeing
are you
any
censoring the Benz?
No. Did they send me one?
I don't know. I'm just fucking around.
I'm looking at it right now. It's not.
I'm just keeping you honest. I have no view into the server, so I have no.
Hey,
idea.
I made peace with the Benz this week. I quote tweeted.
You tried to block the Shoegate article from being talked about last week.
No, I didn't. I just I'm done talking about Shoegate.
Yeah, Car pulled it up. You didn't want it on the list.
And we read it. We did.
We did.
Oh shoot.
Yeah, I saw you tweeted out Ben's new mommy blog.
Yes, it's a good blog. Should we jump to that? Let's just jump to that, and then we'll get back to software updates.
It's a great blog.
Yeah.
Dark mode only.
that is an incredible Ben the Car Man. Little attention to detail that you just have to respect. He's a dark mode maximalist.
Did you see what happens when you do it in light mode?
He's just like all white, right?
It's white on white text, so you can't see shit.
So Ben started a bi-weekly, semi-monthly newsletter. It'll be interchanging.
It's every 2 weeks.
Yeah, bi-weekly, semi-monthly newsletter. It's very technical.
Wow.
He's working for the Bitcoin company, but the Bitcoin company has another newsletter too. It's like more beginner focused.
I think they have exactly. This is like the more complicated one, and then they have like a mainstream one.
Yes. And so Ben's first edition of his mommy blog, Ben's Bites, dove into Taproot and a bunch of other technical sort of topics, Musig and Frost, and how these will affect Bitcoin or could potentially affect Bitcoin, or what they will enable moving forward. So go check out his mommy blog. You can check it out at www.benbytes.io. That's BENBYTES.io.
Fucking bear's mug.
Bears mug. What are these bears doing? They're all weird.
They're fucking. It's a bear orgy.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
It's disgusting. Of course, Marty's.
It's disgusting. I want to see bestiality on my wavelength.
It's not bestiality if bears are fucking each other.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's just normal sex. Well,
yeah,
it's an orgy, right. But it's not bestiality.
Yeah, a beast orgy. Is it bestiality if you jerk off to it?
Maybe, yeah, probably. That's interspecies, but not like gold or silver, like species.
Okay.
I did an in-person rip with Ben and Tony on Dispatch this week.
Yeah, I know, it was really good.
Go check that out. We talked about the mommy blog a little bit there too.
I had a chance to tune in for like 45 minutes. It was a very good conversation.
Oh, sweet.
I thought, what happened to Jelly? He was just like hanging out in the background, like didn't want to.
What, Moon?
Yeah.
Yeah, he
When,
was just fucking sitting there on the couch and wouldn't participate.
yeah. I was like, listen, I was like, well, I thought Justin was gonna be on
He
it.
was like heckling me off mic and no one could hear him.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
That's what.
I put him in the description. I was like, I'm gonna still put you in the description because he told me like last minute he didn't feel like doing it. He said he'll say to come on when he has something to say. He doesn't have something to say. But as soon as we stopped pressing recording, he didn't stop talking. So
Yeah, that's typically how it works.
that's what always happens, you know.
Yeah. On to software updates. BTC Pay Server version 1.4.2 has been released. I gotta say, I upgraded to this. I miss the old UI. That's all I'm gonna say. And that's probably just a user tendency. I haven't gotten used to it yet. Mempool version 2.3.1 has been released. Sparrow Wallet version 1.5.6 has been released. Spectre Desktop version 1.8.1 has been released. Blue Wallet version 6.2.18 has been released. Declare version 0.7.0 has been released. Umbrel version 0.4.13 has been released. Mercury Wallet version 0.6.0 has been released. Zap Android version 0.5.5 beta has been released. And Nix Bitcoin version 0.0.64 has been released. As always, I don't think there's any critical vulnerabilities in any of these updates. If you're running these softwares, these updates are available. You don't have to rush to update if you don't want to, but be aware of them. And there's a lot of development going on in the space. That was a long software update segment there. Shout out to all the
Love
teams.
to see it.
You really do.
Bitcoin is not stagnant as the haters lead you to believe.
It is not at all. There's a proposal to remove memos from Lightning invoices, which is probably a very good idea.
Yeah, I support this proposal.
From a privacy perspective.
Yeah. So what's interesting is a memo is actually signed by your Lightning node. So it is actually very similar to AOPP in that you can sign any piece of information in the memo field, and it's cryptographically verifiable and attached to your non-rotating public key of your node. So there's another case where a lot of these things are already happening, but we don't really have the pushback that we'd like to see there. And to the people that say, oh, well, memos are nice because when I open my wallet, I can see what I spent things on or received things on. We can still have memos that are locally done where, yeah, the receiver labels it, the sender labels it. It's optional. You keep it locally, but it doesn't have to actually be transferred with the invoice and be cryptographically signed.
I mean, we saw this be a nightmare of a privacy situation in the El Salvador rollout.
Right. When they were literally putting people's legal names in the fucking memo.
Yes, and then Matt Alborg's name got stuck in it for like a week.
Well, Matt exposed the situation, so they changed everyone's memo to thanks Matt Alborg after that. Every Chivo wallet fucking memo was thanks Matt Alborg.
That's Matt. If you're Matt Alborg, if you're listening, like, just think about it. You're going to be down in history of El Salvador for a week.
Fucking hilarious.
You're just thanking Matt Alborg as we rolled out the Bitcoin capabilities to our citizens. It's a beautiful thing. You're part of history, Matt, in El Salvador. Matt Alborg. I must be more descriptive since I'm talking to him, Matt. We
can just call him Alborg.
Alborg. Yeah, we need to get you back on the show soon. I need to catch up with you. I always love our conversations. Alborg, I need to catch up with you. Trezor has disabled their web.
I'm right here, right now.
Trezor has disabled their web wallet. They will be the only way to access and interact with your Trezor hardware wallet moving forward will be via their Trezor Suite, which is a desktop app. I've used it. It's pretty slick, but again, I would like if they would allow you to connect it to your own full node.
I mean, you could just use it with Spectre or Sparrow, and then you're good.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I'm not. Like I kind of respect. I mean. This desktop app, the first party apps are to make it very easy to use for new users. Would it be ideal if they had it like in the drop down in the advanced menu that allowed you to connect it to your own node? Yeah, I agree. But you can use it with Blue Wallet or Spectre or Sparrow or Electrum and use it with your own node.
Agreed. Be aware, freaks. Be aware. But it would also be like nice, like Trezor, your sweet product. Just allow people to connect to their own full nodes.
Well, you know what the problem is, right? Like the real reason they have this is because it makes it really easy to use shit coins with Trezor.
Yes. Yes.
And like what? They're not going to give you a Solana node. They're not going to give you an ETH node. They're not like what they're going to have to go down the whole list. And they're just like they look at their analytics or whatever, and like the overwhelm because they can see your transactions and your balances, and like the overwhelming majority of their users are just shitcoining left and right. So that's why the priority is not there.
It's a shame. It's a shame. FTX is valued at $32 billion. Ugh. What are your thoughts on this? Very impressive. Very impressive. That video that
I don't know, it's just a big number. I felt like it should be on the list.
That video that SBF did this week. You gotta hit the gym, bro.
I didn't see it.
You know, there's tits flopping around everywhere. This is interesting. Shopify founder.
That dude's worth so much money.
I know.
He's like one of the few founders that's like I think I mean, I wonder what his actual net worth is. Do we know what his net worth is? It might be more than FTX.
No. I think it's like 10 billion. I don't think it's over 32.
Well, I mean, he owns a shit ton of tokens, right? Which is what changes
I think
the dynamic. Like usually these guys, like the majority of their wealth is the company they started, right? And he does have a significant, amount of wealth from FTX in terms of equity, but also he's got a shit ton of, Bitcoin and tokens and shit.
Yeah, I mean, I think he owns a shit ton of Solana.
Yeah, exactly. So like when Solana was pumping, like he might not be outperforming FTX right now, but he was probably outperforming FTX at some point.
Yeah. I think Solana crashed this week. They had like 72 hours where the network just wasn't working. Just hilarious. Shopify founder joins Coinbase's board. Is this Toby?
I mean, Coinbase can fuck itself, but it felt like it.
No, this Toby guy can go fuck himself too. Like I showed him TFTC on our website, via our website, and our Shopify store when we had one. We were the first to integrate BTC Pay Server as an alternative payment method to Coinbase or BitPay. I believe are the only two like out of the box like Bitcoin service providers that they have on Shopify. We built a BTC Pay server. Shout out DJ. DJ built it after I directed him to, and and I like tried to like show Toby on Twitter, and he like tried to shit on me like, no, like nobody wants this. I'm like, people want it. We're using it every day. Like you don't need Coinbase. And
Forbes Rich List in 2021 rated SBF as $22.5 billion net worth.
Good for him. Good for him. Yeah.
That's insane.
Shopify and Coinbase teaming up. Not sure how I feel, because I'm pretty sure Toby's a bit of a social justice warrior too.
Yeah.
And then last but not least on the list, be waiting for bated breath for this at Bitcoin 2022, I believe on the 7th, April 7th. The Impervious team will be...
This is the wrong link.
Oh yeah, it's not the last. Oh yeah, we have two more topics. We'll go back to that one. But Impervious is going to be launching their browser at Bitcoin 2022. And they're touting a lot of features. We were talking about this yesterday. It'll be
a lot of hype.
A lot of hype. Hope they can deliver. We're actually going to have Chase and Anthony in the studio.
Zoom without Zoom. Google without Google. Medium without Medium. WhatsApp without WhatsApp.
Payments without banks. Identity without the state. All without
the payments without
centralized.
banks is the easy one.
Yeah.
Right? The other ones are more difficult.
We just did one earlier.
Yeah. Like if they just release like a fork of Firefox or just Firefox or Chrome with just a Lightning wallet built into it, like a very good Lightning wallet built into it and all the privacy defaults set, like I'd be a happy camper.
Agreed.
Like they don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Disclaimer: 1031 is an investor in Impervious.
Are we in the most recent round?
I'm not sure. The So that'll come out the
Because
7th.
Fund One we're not part of,
No.
and that was their investment in Impervious.
Full disclosure, we're not part of Fund 1. Fund 2, low time preference fund. Hit us up, Bitcoin only builders.
It's true.
The Chase and Anthony are gonna be in the studio in a couple weeks, I believe. Yes, on the 16th. So a little less than 2 weeks from today. A week from next Wednesday. That's how we'll describe that.
Yeah, and he was on Dispatch yesterday. Or
Yeah,
Tuesday,
Anthony
or
was.
whatever.
Yeah.
Tony.
Tony. Going back to what we had on the list before, surveillance firm Cipher Trace is using honeypots, which is not surprising at all. And do you think they're honeypots Electrum servers?
No, they talk about it. One was one we already knew, which is, well, first of all, Cipher Trace is owned by MasterCard. Surveillance firm bought by MasterCard. What is it? Scroll down, Car. I think it's walletexplorer.com, which is obviously don't use that site. But it's a block explorer like mempool.space or blockstream.info that's been around for a while, and they basically use it to collect IP addresses and address information as people go and search their transactions, which is one of the reasons why people say to use your own node, because you can use like mempool, open source project. You can use that with your own node. You can use it with an Umble. You can use it with a Raspberry Blitz. You can use it with a Ronin Dojo. There's a couple other, I forget the name of the other block explorer. Fuck, I'm gonna get shit on for not remembering that. But you can use a block explorer with your own node. You can also use a VPN. You can use Tor, and this is the reason, because when you start putting intimate information into web services, a lot of times they can be monetizing that by collecting that data, and that's what a honeypot is, and that's what's going on here.
Yeah, and if you want to throw off the honeypots, just go search random addresses on these ClearNet block explorers. Yeah, everybody should actually. You should go to Wallet Discovery. What's the site called?
WalletExplorer.com.
Wallet Explorer. Everybody go to walletexplorer.com and just search random addresses and make them think that you own them. Or actually, is that bad? Nah, that's probably bad. Because then they'll be like, you own this. You'll be like, I don't. I was fucking with you. And they'll be like, prove it. And you can't prove it negative. And it's like, be aware.
Yeah,
they have
just don't
honeypots
go
out
to
there.
that site.
Yeah.
Use your own node.
Use your own node. That's all we have for the list. You want to riff on anything? I know you got family time down there. I don't want to keep you from your family from too long.
There was something I wanted to talk about, but I think I put it in the list. So if you covered everything on the list,
covered everything on the list.
Because I can't see the list.
Maybe you should mention
my mobile setup.
There's a lot of AOPP, check template verify talk going on the mailing list right now. There's a lot of debate back and forth whether or not it is a pressing need for the protocol. I have honestly just been watching the mailing list at a glance and just skimming. I need to do a deep dive on what the state of that conversation is. AOPP, for any of you freaks are unaware, is BIP 119, I believe, and it would bring covenants to Bitcoin, which will allow you to create very complex transaction structures that are conditional. And Jeremy Rubin is behind that. And
one of the coolest things that Liquid has ever done is no one really uses it, so it makes complete sense to implement controversial things into Liquid, and they implemented BIP 119 into Liquid. So now people can fuck around, do the things they want to do with it on Liquid, and see if it breaks anything.
That was one of the funnier parts of the Citadel Dispatch this week was Tony. You said somebody paid some invoice in Liquid, and you could probably know because there's less than 300 people in the world that are.
Yeah, it's just like, he was like, there's more Federation members than
transactors.
That actually was news. There was like 6 new Federation members were added, but I didn't put it on the list because I don't think anyone really gives a shit. But notably, one was Spectre, who recently added Liquid support, and one is Mempool, which also is going to have like like Wiz and Simon, the maintainers of mempool.space, they're going to have a separate liquid portal that can look up like all the liquid tokens and stuff from mempool.space. So they're a Federation member. Also, I have a report here that it seems like Brains might have a What's Miner release this month.
Ooh,
which could be pretty fucking. That could be pretty. That'd be fucking insane. Who knows what happens to the hash rate in that situation? It's gonna go way up.
Edward, if you're listening, I finally get to stop asking when What's Miner. I believe. I think I can say this. I think it's public. M20s will be first, and M31s, and then they'll move up to M30s. From there, I believe.
The message I got said that if you get into one, you get into them all.
Let's go.
So it could be very rapid fire.
Hey. Rumors at this point. I'll believe it when I fucking see it. I've been asking when What's Miner for like 3 years now. Okay.
It's what Neil said. That's what I heard. Jailbreak. Once you break it, you can all of them.
Oh. M30S plus putting out 105 terahash right now. You get that up to like 130, 140. That's a pretty big jump. I'm just assuming they're gonna have like a 25 to 30% jump in efficiency.
That's what we've seen historically, right?
Yeah.
We were so wrong about
hash rate.
I'm glad we walked that back so quickly.
Yeah. I mean, and there's rumors floating around Twitter too that Intel's chips are legit, and people have been using them behind the scenes for more than for longer than people know. I think Kevin from Foundry was tweeting about that earlier this week.
Yeah, like supposedly like Grid fucked that up, right? Like they like released it too far ahead of time or whatever. Like Intel was still gonna hide it.
I didn't know about that. Ooh. It's a big plane. Is that an army plane? Or an Air Force?
I thought you were saying Neil was under on 250 too, because that is fucked. I don't know. I can't see it. There's a ceiling above me. See?
Oh yeah, I see it. I thought you were just getting your sun. I thought you were getting your vitamin D and just sitting by the pool. Yeah. Brains. They're actually having a conference in the Czech Republic in Prague this summer too. Bitcoin mining conference, June 11th, the 15th, I want to say. Could be wrong. What does that say?
In Prague.
In Prague, yeah. June.
I love Prague. Prague's a great city. Such a good city.
Yeah. June 14th through the 16th. I believe the 15th is going to be the meat of the conference. Matt, they wanted us to do a live rabbit hole recap on a boat in Prague at this conference.
And when you told them no?
Unfortunately, my second child will be arriving. It's due to arrive.
Because you never asked me, so I just assumed you just said no.
Well, I said I would have said yes if my child.
Oh, that would have been fucking awesome.
I know. We'll do it next year.
What, your wife can't give birth on the boat?
Technically, you're not supposed to fly like after 7 months or something like that of being pregnant. So we'd have to go to Prague and in May and just.
Did you ask them if they can move the conference?
I did. They said they thought about it. I think for a second they said no.
I fucking love Prague. Prague is such a dope city.
I've never been. I want to go so bad.
I've been a couple times. The beer is so cheap and good. People are nice. Cost of living is super fucking cheap. It's one of my favorite cities.
Yeah, I mean, this is, if I wasn't having a child, I'd be there in a second, and I will definitely be there next year, unless there's a third child behind that one. That messes up.
And then Riga's happening again this year.
Yes,
looks like. And then BitBlock Boom he's already like half sold out. I guess he's got all the speaker slots filled. It's gonna be in Austin. Did you see how nice the lobby is?
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a great. Well,
Huge upgrade to LobbyCon.
I was talking to Gary at Houston last year too. I think he might even charge for LobbyCon, like $100 if we just want to come hang out in the lobby.
Well, the thing, I mean, he shouldn't do that. That's stupid. I think what will break LobbyCon is like the reason LobbyCon was a thing was because like the Dallas Addison where the hotel
you can't
was,
go
like
anywhere
in the middle of fucking nowhere. if we can actually walk somewhere because it's in Austin, you know, like we're actually close to somewhere that's
bar.
like nicer than a hotel lobby. Like, will LobbyCon actually happen?
I don't know, but the BitBlock LobbyCon in Dallas is had some incredible times there. Incredible stories at that late night at that LobbyCon 3 years ago. Breaking into the bar after it was closed at the
100%.
Like re-tapping the kegs for everybody.
And the best one was the 2021. The 2020.
Yeah.
2020 conference where it was like in the middle of all the COVID bullshit and a bunch of us came out and it was a really great time. Like to me, that'll always be the 100K party. You were either there or you weren't. But anyway, we have 3 discount codes for this that are all the same, which is we have RHR, TFTC, and Dispatch, and we don't get anything from those cuts. But you should come because how many times have we done Rabbit Hole Recap now there? Was this our 4th?
This will be our
3rd.
This will be our 3rd. Because the first year I went, we didn't do it.
I didn't go the first year.
I've been 2019, 2020, 2021. I've been 2018.
No,
I went 2018.
You were 2018.
Yeah, we've done it 3 times.
2020, 21. Yeah, so this is the 4th time.
Yeah, this will be our 4th. Yeah. And this will be my 5th BitBlock.
The first time was 2018.
The first conference, yes, that was an incredible one.
The first one ever. Yeah, but it was a little bit shitcoiny, right? And then he found his way, right?
There was some shitcoin, but like there was high quality Bitcoin.
Because like Pierre and Bitstein brought him. Pierre and Bitstein brought him over to the dark side.
Yeah,
to the light. They brought him from the dark side to the light.
I sat with Kevin Pham at that dinner the first night of the first BitBlock boom. Kevin, if you're out there, I hope you're doing well, sir.
Kevin Pham, I forgot about that dude.
Yeah, I haven't heard that name in quite a while.
Damn.
What else is going on? Is that it?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a pretty good rip. The freaks are not really saying anything in the comments.
Quiet ass motherfuckers. All right, I guess we'll end it there. You got to get to your family. I've got to go figure out if we can find a replacement babysitter for dinner tonight. I got to write a bed. Yeah, this was a great rip, Matt. I hope you enjoy your time with your family this weekend.
Much love, brother. Much love, Car. Much love, freaks. Stay humble, stack sets.